Hi everyone. So in this part we are going to see how to do some more updates on the wheel. Okay, so all the sprites that you have created, they have some basic properties like depth. We have accessed this property. There is another property that's called the scale property. For example, if you want to change the scale, okay, so either you can call the set scale function, or you can say let's say wheel dot scale x. So that means you want to maybe increase the expand the wheel along x-axis. Okay, so the size becomes twice of the original size, and you can say wheel dot scale y equals, so let's say, 0.5. It will shrink along the y-axis and it will expand along x-axis. Okay, so some of these properties you can change, but what we can do, we can also change these properties in the update function. For example, if I say okay, uh, wheel dot scale x plus equals to 0.1. Okay, so here you might get an error. Why? Let me show you. So it says wheel is not defined. Okay, so wheel is a local variable inside the create function. It is not accessible in the update function. So what you need to do, you can make it part of the scene. So instead of writing let wheel equals to this, you can say this dot wheel equals to this particular sprite. So now this wheel becomes a property of the scene object, and since update is also okay, so let me tell you. So we had a scene object. So what we do at this line, we create a property called wheel. Okay, and scene object has methods like update. Okay, it has a method called create. So in create you say okay, this dot wheel, so this means wheel of the scene object, and here if you want to update this particular wheel, you can say this dot wheel. So that's the benefit of using this. So instead of writing wheel, I will say this dot wheel dot scale x plus equals to 0.01. That means we will see the wheel expanding here. uh, let me try with a different property. Okay, so let me say this dot wheel dot angle plus equals to 5. Wheel is not defined. Oh, sorry, this wheel. Okay, so you can see this wheel is rotating very fast. So every time the update function is called, we rotate the angle of the wheel by 5 degrees. Okay, and it's rotating very fast, so maybe you can just increment it by 1 degree. So you can see the wheel is now moving. Okay, another thing that you can do is we also have a alpha property. That means the transparency. So if I say this dot wheel dot alpha equals to 0.5, so this wheel will look 50% transparent. Okay, and if you change this property in the update function, maybe you say I want to decrease the alpha value of the wheel. Okay, so that means the opacity will decrease continuously by a factor of, let's say, 0.1. So what happens is the wheel diminishes. Okay, or maybe let's make it slow, 0.01. So the wheel becomes invisible because the alpha of the wheel has become 0. So alpha equal to 1 means opaque object. Okay, so 1 means opaque and 0 means totally transparent. Okay, something like this. But we do not need to change alpha property here. We just need to update angle, but the angle should not be updated continuously. It should run for a moment when the user clicks on the wheel, and otherwise it should remain stationary. Okay, so you can also try with other things like I can say this dot wheel dot scale x plus equals to 0.01, and this dot wheel dot scale y plus equals to 0.01. So you can see the wheel is going to expand as you run. Okay, so it's becoming bigger and bigger because at every moment the update function is called, we are increasing the scale of the wheel. So you can put in some if else condition, and you can make it like a animation also. It becomes bigger, it becomes smaller, and so on. Okay, so you can create those animations if you want, but I'm just teaching you these things because uh, it is easy to visualize what is happening. Okay, so each line of the code, you can see what it does on the wheel. Okay, so the next thing that we actually need to do is we need to add a event listener. Okay, so we need to listen for events, and only when the event triggers, our wheel should move. So let me uh, do two things. First we will add a event listener, and then we will also add some text in the game. Okay, so what we will do, so let me say this dot input scene object has a property called it's an object called input that has a function called on, and the event is called pointer down. Okay, so that means you're pressing something on the screen. Okay, and what you need to do, you need to define the function that you will call. So maybe we will create a function of our own. Let's call this function as spin wheel, and we also need to pass the context to the spin wheel function so that we can access the scene object. Okay, so we will pass this to the spin wheel function. So let me say function spin wheel. Okay, so when this function will be called, it will also have this context so that we can refer the objects inside this particular scene, and we can do some changes on them. Okay, so as of now I can just say console.log you clicked the mouse. Okay, and maybe console.log start spinning. Okay, so as of now we have not related the logic of spinning with the click, but you can see if I just click the mouse, I get this thing in the console, you click the mouse and start spinning. Okay, so that means our mouse click is getting registered on the canvas. Okay, so what we will do next is we will display a text, welcome to the spin and win game, so that we can simply do using add text method. Okay, so let's create a, okay, so here we have created a event listener for mouse click. Let's create a text object. Okay, so maybe I want to call this as game text. So I will use this dot add text. I will specify the coordinates. Let's say at 10,10 I want to add some text. So let's say that text is welcome to spin and win. Okay, and here we have to give the styling of the font. Okay, so let's create a small object font style, and here you need to specify some properties of the font that you want to use. So let's say 30 pixels Arial font, or maybe Roboto font. Okay, let's try, and I can say alignment should be center, and the color you want to give. Okay, let's say color is red. Welcome to spin and win. Okay, so this is the default font. We have not given these font style here. So what you can do, you can actually give font style here, and you will see the changes in the font. Okay, welcome to spin and win. So not good. Okay, so you can see this is how it looks like. Okay, so what we will do, on our mouse click we will try to update this particular font. So here when this function is called, we are also getting this object. So using this object we can access the game text object inside this function. Okay, so I can say this dot game text. So I want to update the text of this box. So there is a method called set text. Okay, so you give the new text. For example, you click the mouse. So what will happen once I click on my game, it will change. Okay, So you can see it is welcome to spin and win. Once I click here, it becomes you click the mouse. So that means our event listener is working perfectly fine, and by calling this function we can actually update the elements that are inside our game. So that's all for this video. We'll cover some more concepts in the next video.